Our guest today is the one and only Ozzie Smith. Ozzie combined athletic ability with acrobatic skill to become one of the greatest defensive shortstops of all time. The 13-time Gold Glove Award winner redefined the position in his nearly 2 decades of work, beginning with the San Diego Padres and playing the majority of his career here with the St. Louis Cardinals. Known as the Wizard of Oz, he played 19 seasons, acquired 13 Gold Glove Awards as the best defensive player at his position, compiled 2,460 hits, 580 swipers, stolen bases, named to 15 All-Star teams, set the major league record for his position for most assists, most double plays, most total chances accepted, most years with 500 or more assists, and most years leading the league in assists and chances accepted, and also Baseball Hall of Fame inductee. And he's here today on the Model Health Show. I'd like to welcome Ozzie Smith. How you doing today?
All right, Shawn, how you doing?
I'm very, very grateful to have you on.
Great to be here. We talked about this maybe 3-4 months ago at being able to finally get this done, and here we are.
Yeah, very, very. I see you at the gym all the time.
Hey, man, you got to. I'm a baby boomer, so I'm going down fighting.
Right. And everybody, I don't know if you really know this because, it's just who you are, but people just light up when you're around. We're walking through the gym together. I just saw people just like light bulbs turning on when you walk by.
It's nice, man. It's nice to be able to, it's a blessing really to be able to walk into a room like that and have people feel that way about you. And especially in the times that we're living in and stuff. And all I've ever tried to do, man, was just do what's right, try and keep myself clean and try and live right. I don't always accomplish that. I do eat junk periodically, but I also work hard too. Yeah. So I owe it to myself.
Absolutely, man. If anybody does. So I want to talk about your superhero origin story.
Okay.
Right? Because you redefined the position. You redefined baseball really. Like, I remember being a kid and coming to the game just to see you play defense. Yeah. Nobody says that. Like, it's all about the home runs. But I want to know, so first of all, where did you grow up and when did you first pick up a baseball?
Okay, I grew up I was born in Mobile, Alabama, December 26, 1954. I moved to L.A. when I was 6 years old, so most of my growing up was done in Southern California. I grew up in the south central side of California, which is known as Watts. I was there during the riots. Can remember sleeping on the floor, National Guard sitting up across the street, and wondering at that time whether or not we would even live. And with that being said, when you talk about parents and stuff, I think my parents, and I grew up basically in a single-parent home. My mom raised us she was there all the time. We never knew that we didn't have, which was an amazing thing. We always talk about African-American women knowing how to stretch a penny. Yeah, we were poor, but we didn't know we were poor. All we knew is that, or all we were taught was that you gotta believe that if you work hard, you put in your blood, your sweat, and your tears, then you'll get out of what you're working at. Yeah. And you're only going to get out of something what you put in it. If you don't put anything in it, you shouldn't expect anything in return. And that's the model with which we all lived and we were taught. And I was fortunate enough to have people in my life that preached the same message. Yeah. It was a generation from generation to generation, the older people in our lives told us the same story we heard over and over again. So making it in life was all up to you, how hard you were willing to work and whether or not you were willing to put in the time and the effort. And in believing that, I worked hard at everything that I did in my life, even to this day. If I'm going to lift weights, then I'm going to try and be the best weightlifter I could be. Yeah. And that's just the way I was taught. And I feel very fortunate that I had people that preached that same message.
Yeah. I love that so much. I love the statement. I've said this many times, how you do anything is how you do everything.
That's right.
And it's like a culture you create in your own mind about how you approach things. Mm-hmm. And you're definitely somebody who's approached things with a sense of giving your best and excellence. So baseball, where did that come around?
Well, when I was in high school, I had to do some soul searching because basketball was really what I excelled in high school, believe it or not. Mm. And when I decided to go to college, I had to do some soul searching, and I realized that baseball was really what I loved doing more than anything else. Now, I never got drafted out of high school. I played high school baseball with a guy by the name of Eddie Murray, who was one of the greatest power hitting switch hitters in baseball history. He followed me into the Hall of Fame in 2003.
Wow.
We both played baseball and basketball, and I tell people all the time I made him what he is, you know. But we had a great time growing up. But my first beginnings as far as baseball, I can remember my uncle. We had a pecan tree in the backyard where we used to live, and he had this plastic bat that we used to throw up there to knock the pecans out of the tree, and then I would take the plastic bat and he'd throw pecans to me and let me hit the pecans. And that was really kind of the beginning of any type of coordinated sport that I can remember. And then when I decided to go to college, as I said, I went on a partial academic scholarship, didn't get a baseball scholarship, never got drafted out of high school, which was a little disappointing. But I think that had a lot to do with my size and stuff. But as I talked about earlier, my mom always told me that it's not your stature, it's how big your heart is, how hard you're willing to work. And I was never afraid to put in the work. And I knew that if I put in the work, as they had taught me, that eventually I would get an opportunity. And that opportunity didn't really present itself until I was at a point in time in my life where I was ready to go home. I was 4 hours away from home. I went to a little small school in Central California called Cal Poly at San Luis Obispo, which is up the Central Coast near Santa Barbara. Beautiful. And all of the California state system schools are set down in mountains, so it's a beautiful college town. And I was a little homesick and stuff, and it was at that point that I called home and I told my mom, I said, this may not be for me. I'm homesick and I'm coming home. And she said, home? You have no home. She said, you're not coming back here. And she called my high school coach. And he called me and very sternly told me, he said, you are not going anywhere. You're going to stay right there and you're going to weather this storm. And I stayed. And 2 days later, the shortstop on the varsity team got hurt. And that window of opportunity opened. And I stepped in through that window of opportunity, and from that day in college, I never looked back. And it wasn't until 1975 where I went to, after our season was over, they look for places to send kids who they feel have an opportunity to make it or want to try and pursue a professional career. I went to a little small town in Iowa called Clarinda, southwest corner of Iowa near Omaha. And it was there that I guess the scouts finally started to take a look at what I could do. But I was the only black kid on the team. First time ever going to a place like this, in the Midwest, all white town where you live with the people in the town and stuff. So this was a totally new experience for me. But here again, fortunately, I was with a group of people who didn't see my color. They saw me as a player and as a person. And that family was the Mr. and Mrs. Eberly. And she's like my mom, my second mom to this day. Because they took me in and allowed me the freedom to do what it was that I wanted to do. And 1976, I go back my second year and I get drafted by the Detroit Tigers. Now, I had finished 3 years of my schooling and I had promised my mom I was going to get my education. And they drafted me in the 8th round. And they drafted me the same year they drafted Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker. And they offered me $8,500. So I said, if they don't give me $10,000, they're not going to take a real good look at me. So I went back and I asked them for the other $1,500, and they said they didn't have it in the budget. So I rolled the dice and I went back to school in hopes of getting drafted again my senior year, which I did by the San Diego Padres. And being the good businessman that I am, I signed for $5,000 and a bus ticket to Walla Walla, Washington, where I started my professional career.
That's too funny. That's amazing and wow.
And
That's
I tell kids all the time that when you look at guys who are making big money today, all of us were not bonus babies, because I certainly was not one of those guys.
yeah. Wow. Wow. That's you took that gamble, but it did pay off ultimately. But
Yep.
in the small perspective, yeah, you actually lost a little bit of money doing the right thing.
That's
So
right. So it's not always about ending up on top from a financial standpoint. Sometimes you got to take a step back, take 2 or 3 steps forward.
I love that so much. So okay, so you get drafted with the Padres. So what initially coming out, being drafted, what did you want to accomplish? Just getting into the
Well,
sport at this level.
first of all, getting the opportunity to play professionally was really my goal. I just wanted to know in my own mind. I believed that in my mind that I could play professionally, and it was really about getting that opportunity and being ready when that opportunity presented itself. As the people
Yeah,
had
being ready.
being ready when that window of opportunity opened, because that window of opportunity may be very, very small. But when it did present itself, I was ready to step through it because I had worked and prepared myself for it, and it made the rest of it easy. If you're not afraid to do the work, you're not afraid to put in the blood, the sweat, and the tears, then good things will happen. And so I just continued to work the way that I had worked. Now, I was blessed with hand and eye coordination. And I realized that, when I decided to go to college, that, that's where my assets were. And I wanted to maintain that for as long as I could, So I knew that the only way for me to maintain that was to continue to work hard and approach it the same way that I had approached it. I have had people ask me, I should take ground balls every day. And I would have teammates that ask me, why you take them every day? I said, well, you know what? Because I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it, and I don't want to be surprised by anything that happens on the field, and especially at home. You can be surprised on the road or whatever, but if there's a bad spot on my field at home, then I should know about that, and that's one of the edges that you try and you work for, finding edges all over the place. And if there's a bad spot on the field, then I need to know about that, because he may not. And that may be the thing that determines whether you win or lose.
Wow, that's so deep. And it made me think of my surprise at home with my son with the tablet.
Tablet, man. It's amazing. Technology today,
Bananas,
it's an
man.
amazing
He's
thing.
sitting up there just living the life, ordering toys. So one of your San Diego teammates said in an interview that, you can get buried by the other team in a game, and a lot of negative things can happen while you're out there. But you would say, focus on the one positive thing that happened during the game and take that with you. Why was this your approach?
Well, I mean, here again, every day or every year was different. If my numbers were a little better this year, one point better than it was last year, I had a better year. So it was always about reaching up, not knowing exactly where you're going. You just didn't want to go the other way, So I was always trying to make this year better than the last, and with that mindset, you'll always keep yourself in a position, hopefully, to win, have a chance to win. And if we didn't win, I didn't want it to be because of my lack of preparation or my lack of knowledge of what I was trying to achieve.
You know what? When I heard this statement, I really thought about this in the context of life as well.
That's right.
Just like, what's that? Because a lot of messed up things can happen, but find that little piece of positivity in that
That's right.
darkness,
That positive thing, and you try and surround yourself with people with those same positive attitudes and thoughts. And, you talked about a minute ago, I had a friend of mine who was a doctor. I haven't seen him in a few years, but we talked about energy. I'll give you an example. I used to go to the ballpark early in the afternoon, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we all have mailboxes where fans send mail. Well, my mailbox was always the bigger one. It was the biggest mailbox because I had a lot of mail. And so I used to go in and sit and read my mail before I went out on the field. Well, when I got to the ballpark at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, man, I was in a great mood, man, energy. had my hamburger helper. I'd eat my hamburger helper and toast and stuff for lunch. And come game time, man, I felt my energy drained. I felt like, golly, what in the world is this? And I finally realized that what happens if you're not careful, because people like being around you, it drains your positive energy. You have to be very, very careful, because I would get letters from people who had less. And if you're a caring person, if you get a letter from a person in prison, get a letter from a lady whose gas and lights are being turned off. If you're a caring person, it touches you in some way, and it drains your energy. So I had to get to a point to where I had to stop reading mail before I went out and performed, because by the time I got out there some nights, it was just, I had nothing. Because you're thinking about all of the other things that subconsciously, and the subconscious mind is where everything happens.
Absolutely.
And I had to figure that out myself.
Wow. The hamburger helper didn't have nothing on those letters.
No, man, the hamburger helper had nothing. Baseball players or athletes were very superstitious, so if we find that meal that, got you 3 or 4 hits tonight,
Was it the cheeseburger macaroni, or was it the stroganoff?
It's cheeseburger macaroni,
man,
know.
I know. So, also, and just even shout out to snail mail, back in the day. But that's such a profound insight, to be able to have. And, I totally agree. And I think that's one of the things that, that I first noticed about you is that, like, people pick that up, that you care. Like,
that's
you
right.
see people.
That's right.
Like, nobody is invisible around you. You know, and that makes people feel good.
Well, here again, it's all about making, and especially in a town like this, this is such an avid baseball town.
Yeah.
That people feel like they know you.
Right.
And for me, if it's going to be the only opportunity that they have to meet me, and I'm still amazed to this day, and I've been here since 1982, there are people in this town that have never seen me in person. I was just did a promotion at the ballpark yesterday. And it was amazing to me at all the people who looked up and saw me and go, golly, I can't believe that you're here. And I'm saying to myself, I've been here almost 100 years. And I've seen and signed something for everybody, but it's never ending.
Yeah.
It's never ending. So if it's going to be the only chance that they had to meet me, I want it to be a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
So that they walk away from it feeling that, hey, you know what? He's just the way I thought he was.
Yes. And, there's many stories of our heroes not living up to that ideal, and I think there's a lot of people listening that are heroes for other people. And I want them to really embrace that, and how much it matters for you to walk the talk and show up in other people's lives, because, it could really make the difference for somebody. And also, I want to point to, in St. Louis, literally, it's like a holiday, opening day.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, people, they'll close jobs down. It's like a big deal.
The city closes down, man. It's crazy.
And a big part, like, I think that you were a catalyst for that. That opening day, you come out, you hit the backflip. My goodness. So where did that whole idea come from?
Well, when I started my rookie year in 1978 with the Padres, after we finished working out, we had to run 2 miles, man. And I don't know about you, but long distances wasn't my thing. I was a little sprinter, and, I could run the 60-yard dash, which we're tested in baseball, or the 40-yard dash in football. But long distances wasn't my thing. So we're running these 2 miles, and I'm near the back of the pack. And so these old guys I'm playing with, Gaylord Perry, Dave Winfield, Gene Tennis, they all gave me a hard time about being the young guy and being in the back of the pack. So to show them that I wasn't tired, I did a round-off backflip, and this is when I had hops. I had hops. As I told you, I played basketball, so I had hops. And I did it, and my teammate Gene had girls that were in the gymnastics, and he wanted them to see me do that at some point in time during the season, which we weren't able to do. So the final day of the season, which was Fan Appreciation Day, he and the PR guy thought it would be a good idea for me to do it going out to my position. Now, I was a little reluctant because back in the day, the entertainment was the chicken in San Diego. It was the San Diego chicken. And I mean, this dude was entertaining, and I certainly didn't want to go up against the chicken as far as entertainment and stuff is concerned. But I reluctantly did it, and people liked it so much that they asked me to do it opening day the following year. And lo and behold, a trademark was born.
Yeah, definitely. It's really, really a special thing, you know. And so,
well, it signified the beginning of the baseball season.
Yes,
you know, that was a sign that the season is here and we're underway. And
the boys of summer.
The boys of summer are here, and you can turn on ESPN now sometimes and see that highlight. And it's nice to have something like that to remind people of what you did. But I still have to remind people that I played baseball too.
Right?
Because I didn't want to become known simply for the flip.
Yeah.
It was a good moniker and all of that, but I was very proud of my baseball acumen as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to talk to you about now is, that was just a part of your athleticism, and you redefined the position of shortstop.
Well, let me say this here, Shawn. I think that the guys that make the Hall of Fame in whatever sport it is, I think that those guys change the way we look at the sport itself. Wow. That to me is what defines a Hall of Famer, because they're a lot more average than they are great. And the great are the people that we consider eligible or what am I trying to say? Deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. So, when we have these questions about guys, and then this comes up a lot about whether or not a guy is a Hall of Famer. I think that when your playing career is over, it's either you are or you aren't. And there shouldn't be a whole lot of question, because the guys that change the way we look at the sport have separated themselves from the rest of the bunch. And baseball has always had this question, because we have these committees that you're on the ballot, and you have to get a certain amount of votes each year to stay on the ballot. Well, when you fall below that number, your name comes off the ballot. So there are now special committees that are put together to see whether or not the sports writers missed it. And I know Reggie Jackson has gotten in trouble a couple times by saying, well, if a guy is a Hall of Famer and he didn't make the Hall of Fame in 15 years, which means that he hasn't thrown another ball, he hasn't hit another ball, he hasn't ran. What makes a guy a Hall of Famer after 15 years of never playing again? So it makes you think about, whether or not a guy is a Hall of Famer. And in my opinion, and I'm not saying this because I made it on the first ballot. If I didn't make it on the first ballot, I mean, anytime you get in the Hall of Fame, you accept it. But if I had not made it, it wouldn't have diminished anything that I accomplished, because the things that I accomplished, I worked hard at them. I know that each and every day out there, I gave my best, and I did my best. And if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, that's powerful. So this attitude and approach of just staying ready and you doing that work and taking ground balls every day, I think it led to a level of comfortability out there, and the plays that you would do, just some of the behind the back, the grabs, it's crazy.
Let me say this, Shawn. I just did what I did. Sometimes I couldn't tell you how I did it, and it wasn't until I had to start trying to explain to people how I did it. And I go, yeah, how did I do it? I kept myself in a position. I just wanted to be in a position to be able to make a play.
Yeah,
and it's part of the thought process that goes into it. Every day out there, it's not just standing out there and being blank, but it's because it's all of the ground balls and things that I took, all of the things that I stored in my subconscious. And when you play a sport for a certain amount of time, then there's just certain things that you learn, patterns, where people going to have a tendency to hit the ball. Now, a lot has to do with pitching as well. Whether or not your pitcher can pitch to a scouting report. We all get scouting reports. But if you got a young guy on the mound who can't throw the ball where the ball is supposed to be thrown, then my job becomes a little bit tougher, because now my job is covering mistakes.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, I got to make the routine play, but it's really about covering the mistakes that they make. And if we ask for the ball inside and you throw the ball outside and he hits the ball up the middle where, I'm thinking that he's going to pull the ball, then I've got to be able to still cover. I prided myself in still being able to cover enough ground to be able to still make a play when I wasn't in the right position.
Yeah. I'm a very analytical person by nature, I believe. And so even words like intuition, I still need some tangibility to it. And so when you said pattern, it just jumped right out to me that the best definition that I've come across that I kind of abide by of intuition is advanced pattern recognition and being able to see things, even subconsciously, that is going on around you because of putting yourself in position so many times, and you just start to pick it up as an advanced pattern recognition.
Well, it becomes second nature. The ground ball, and when a ground ball comes to you, I'm standing there and I'm thinking, well, should I go this way or should I do that? You don't ever want to be in that position. Mm-hmm. If somebody threw a ball to me right now, because of what I did, there's certain reactions that things that are going to occur, and so I always wanted to be in a position where I was ready to make a play, whatever. And we'll probably talk about this. That happened to me one day in San Diego on a Thursday afternoon, on a ground ball that went up the middle. And this was really the play that put me on the map. And it wasn't until the next day that I even realized what I did. Randy Jones is pitching. We're playing the Atlanta Braves. Jeff Burrows up hitting. There's a ball hit up the middle, bullet. Boom, the ball's hit. I go, and anytime I had to go left or right, 15, 20 feet, first thing that came to mind was dive. It was just an innate ability that I had, not something I practiced. But I dive. And on this particular play, when I dove, the ball was about here, and it hit, and it goes back this way. Yeah. So now I'm parallel to the ground, and my body's going this way. And the only way for me to get it is to reach back with my bare hand as I'm going, as my glove hand is going in this direction.
So it took a strange hop.
It hit the dirt and took a bad hop. And so for some reason, the ball stuck in my hand. I was able to scramble to my feet and throw the guy out at first base.
Bare hand, that's crazy.
And it wasn't until the next day that I'm listening to the radio in the morning, because at that time just being a rookie, I hadn't got my place, my television, all that stuff. But I was listening to radio. And the guy says, you know what? Yesterday I think I saw the greatest play I've ever seen. And I'm saying, well, this guy's been around the game a long time. And I've seen a lot of baseball because I grew up in Los Angeles going out to Dodger Stadium. I used to catch the bus out to Dodger Stadium to watch the Dodgers play. And stuff. So I've seen a lot of baseball. But when that statement was made, it really, really kind of resonated with me that, I'd done something special.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. I'm in awe of it right now.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. So, one of the things that and I just dove into your world the past couple of weeks as well, is you were known, of course, for the phenomenal defense, but you deeply wanted to be a better offensive player as well. Mm-hmm. And so making that transition from San Diego, I think it was Whitey Herzog, who was the manager,
right?
So kind of instrumental in getting you over here, and you really wanted to improve offensively. So what was the catalyst?
Let me say this here. Our generation, unlike this generation, our goal was to be well-rounded. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to be one-dimensional players. The goal was to be as well-rounded as you could be. I wanted to be as good an offensive player as I was a defensive player. If you talk to Tony Gwynn was a great hitter, but the one thing that Tony Gwynn wanted, he wanted to win a Gold Glove. Yeah. And I was the same way. Cal Ripken, same way. It was the way we were taught, the way we were brought up. Baseball is not a one-dimensional sport, which it has become. That's where the game has changed. Guys they're there now to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and they've lost the finer points of the game. There's something special about being able to lay down a bunt and beat it out, or the squeeze play. or just making the routine play simply, making the routine play. Those things have gotten away. One of the most exciting times for us used to be taking infield. And that was like warming up just before the game started. An outfielder like Dave Winfield going out and showing off his arm, or Ellis Valentine or Andre Dawson, before a game started, watching what these guys were really capable of doing, or using it as an intimidating factor when the other team's sitting and watching, saying, man, if you run on me tonight, this is what you got coming to you. It's that part of the game that is lost now, because guys don't take infield anymore because all they want to do is hit. And that's what's sad about the whole thing. But you were asking about the generation of how of what made us want to be the best that we could be. It was just the way we were brought up. All of us are, the generation of us. And it was just, we didn't know any different. We went out there every day working hard to be the very best that we could be defensively and the very best that we could be offensively. Now, for me, I always work with weights and stuff in the off season, but being a small guy, never really understood.
That wasn't very popular then.
No, it wasn't.
Well.
No, it wasn't. Because they, as a shortstop, you wanted to be flexible. You didn't want to be too tight. But I wanted to be stronger. And so in 1985, and I think this is where we were going. In 1985, I had a chance to meet a guy by the name of Mackie Shilstone, who took Michael Spinks from a light heavy to a heavyweight. And it was at that point that things kind of changed for me. 1985, my greatest accomplishment in the game today has been playing with a rotator cuff, a torn rotator cuff from 1985 to 1996. And I didn't get the rotator cuff worked on until after I retired, because it was starting to affect my golf game. Talk about priorities. But Mackie, when I met Mackie, I told Mackie that what I wanted to prolong my career. I wanted to be able to play beyond 40, because 40 was the number. You can't play beyond 40. Saying, well, that ain't what I've been taught. You can play as long as you want to play, as long as you keep yourself in good shape and stuff. I said, 40, that's nothing. So we started working on protecting the area around the rotator cuff, doing all of the armband exercises, the internal, external, the sword in, sword out. I know all of these exercises now because it's those little muscles around the area. And I don't know if you've ever had a rotator cuff tear or strain or whatever, that little muscle does so much for everything that you do in your life. Opening the car door, turning the radio dial, you name it. And so what I had to do is I had to work from below the shoulder. But what happens when you lose one instinct, another one takes over. So I was already pretty quick and accurate, and it just enhanced that even more. But from 85 to 96, I was still able to win Gold Gloves, not being able to get up on top. So I say to guys, it's easy to play when you're healthy. It's easy to play when you're healthy. It's show me that guy who can go out there and still get it done when he's ailing every day. If you show me a player that goes to a coach and says, Coach, I'm 100%. I'm going to show you somebody who's not giving 100. Because if you're giving 100 every day, there's no way that you go out there and you don't have some type of ache of pain, be it your knee, your foot. Something has to be aching you. So the guys that excel at it and become greats, or that are out there every day, and I know that winning is much more than getting a big hit or making a great play. Winning is being able to help my team psychologically. My being there at 80%, sometimes for a team is going to be better than somebody else at 100, psychologically. And so I tell young people all the time that, when you're one of the people that the team depends on, you got to show up, man. You got to figure out a way to get it done. And just the intimidating factor sometimes when you can intimidate a team by saying that, well, I'm not going to hit it to you. When a guy would say to me, well, I ain't going to hit it to you today, I got him.
Yeah.
I got him
Before it even starts.
before it starts. And that's the type of edge that you're looking for.
Yeah. Wow. This is super fascinating stuff. And again, just want to reiterate, you won Gold Gloves after this injury, several of them.
Yeah.
And, for folks wondering, like, why didn't he get some kind of surgery? This is at a time where surgery could potentially mean the end of your career.
Right.
You found a way. You figured it out.
I had seen it, man. And I'd seen some of the scars of guys who had rotator cuff surgery. And this was before they were really good at scoping and all of that stuff. So I was a little afraid of it. And I had a trainer in college that had worked with some pitchers, with the surgical tubing and stuff. And so I knew about that. And I always wondered why they were using it. But then, it became rather apparent that I was one of those people that had to use it as well. And it strengthens all those muscles around the area. I was able to do that. And as time went on, it just got to a point to where I knew that I wasn't going to be able to operate from up here. So everything was done down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just made the adjustment.
So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about another iconic moment with Ozzie Smith here. And I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. So sit tight. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, we are back and we're talking with the legendary Hall of Fame shortstop, icon alert, Ozzie Smith, here on the Model Health Show. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about adjustment. We were talking a little bit about showing up despite the circumstances. And also I'd asked Ozzie a little bit about him having the audacity to want to be great all-around player, not just defensively. And I think one of the most iconic moments in all of sports was 1985, National League Championship, Dodgers, ninth inning. Can you talk about what happened?
And I think it was at that point that people started looking at me as much more than just a defensive player. Yeah. It was at that point that they realized that, hey, I wasn't that one-dimensional player. Now, my defensive prowess was a thing that allowed me to get to the big leagues and stay at the big league, and that was the thing that they talked about, and it's probably the thing that ultimately got me into the Hall of Fame. But there were the other parts of the game were very, very important to me. I stole 580 bases, I think, and I had my share of triples and doubles and all of that. And all of that plays into the success of an organization. Somebody has to do the little stuff, to give a big guy the chance to do his thing. And we had a lot of teams like that here in the 80s where we weren't big boppers. We were guys that had to do the fundamental things every day. And to this day, I tell people analytics and stuff are great, and the games are run by analytics now, but I believe, always have and always will, that if I catch the ball better, I throw it better, I run better, hit more timely, I'm going to win more games.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's the bottom line. That part of the game's never going to change. That's never going to change. So to be able to do those little things day in and day out are what I think that over the long haul is what makes great organizations. It's what has made the St. Louis Cardinals the organization that it has been for as long as it's been. And that's the thing that's eventually going to get it back. They're working hard to try and get back to those fundamental things because I think they, as an organization, got caught up in the way that other people start drafting. You start drafting one-dimensional players. If you draft one-dimensional players, guess what you're going to get? A one-dimensional player.
Right.
And so I think the goal as an organization, our goal has always been, we've always had guys who were well-rounded.
Yeah, that's true. We love that here in the city.
You love it here in the city. It's what made baseball so exciting here in the 80s because speed kills. You got guys, you think about baseball today, you probably have guys standing out there saying to themselves, please don't hit it to me. Well, when you got a guy standing out there saying, please don't hit it to me, you need to hit it to him.
Right.
But if you're striking out, you're not putting any pressure on him. Yeah. And so it's okay to strike out 150 times a year. That's crazy. You don't put any pressure on the defense by striking out. So as we were taught when we were young, you get 2 strikes on you, you choke up on the bat, and you put the ball in play. You know, I do a show here called The Insider. And I was talking to a player one day, and I said, you know, we talked about in spring training about choking up with 2 strikes on and putting it in play. He says, well, I don't really feel, you know, I don't like choking up with 2 strikes on me because I still want to do damage. I go, well, you know, that's cool and everything. I said, but think about this. There was a guy who hit 73 home runs one year, and he was choked up on every pitch. So you can do damage without. Actually, it gives you more control. And so
Captain Logic,
you know, it's just it's just these sensible things that get away from the guys, and you have to kind of remind them that, hey, you know, it's not about something has to give. When you got 2 strikes on you, something has to give. I can't go up there thinking, well, I'm still going to take my big swing. That guy out there on the mound, he wants you to take the big swing because a guy with a big swing has more holes. He's going to have more trouble with a guy who's a contact hitter as opposed to a guy who's got the big swing. If I'm a pitcher and I can pitch to a scouting report, and I can make the ball move a little bit, I'd love pitching to the guy with the big swing.
Yeah.
I just can't make a mistake.
And that's life too.
That's life.
Just being able to have all those different places that you can hit because life is going to throw you some crazy pitches.
You're going to get some crazy pitches. That's right.
Wow. That's powerful. So I remember they flashed up on the screen. You're a switch hitter, by the way. So they flashed up. You're batting left for this, and they flashed up on the screen. I think it was like 3,000 at bats.
2,900 some at bats.
At bats without a home run from the left side.
And keep in mind, Shawn, here again, I wasn't trying to hit a home run. Now, in '85, as I told you, I started working with Mackie Shilstone. Yeah. And one of the things that Mackie Shilstone taught me, as he teaches all people that he worked with, he incorporates nutrition with weightlifting, which is one of the things that I had not done. And this is a thing that he taught me, and it wasn't just for sport, it was for life. It's things that I take with me now. And he works with Serena now. But he's worked with a lot of the greats, and that was the magic of him. If he walked in this room right now with 5 guys, you probably wouldn't even know who Mackie Shilstone is. But he was very special in the things that he knew and the things that he understood about nutrition and weightlifting. And I give him credit for prolonging my career. I was able to play till I was 41. Probably could have played until I was 45. But just wasn't given the opportunity. But it's those type of things that you got to seek out, and those type of people out there that if you're interested in getting yourself better and being the best that you can be, then you gotta work with the best. You got to find the best. Yeah. And Mackie certainly is one of those people.
Definitely. So if you could, just for 1 minute, take us back. You're on the left side of the plate.
Yeah.
And tell us what happens.
Well, the Dodgers had always pitch me hard in, soft away. And you do that, you get the guy looking for something hard in, and then you throw a soft away to have to reach. It's throwing off your timing. So in this particular at bat, he had thrown 2 fastballs that I swung and fouled him straight back. And when you're sitting watching a ball game, when a guy's throwing fastballs and the guy's fouling them straight back, you better be careful. Because he's zoning in. You know, he has a pretty good idea of where the ball is. And in this instance, he tried to get the ball in and he left it out over the plate. And unlike now, back in the day, they said that you did not want to throw a left-hander down and in because all you have to do is really drop the head. And as you see that pitch is down and in. He didn't get it up and in. He got it down and in. So now, because I had gotten a little bit stronger, I was driving the ball a little bit more. I learned how to pull the ball down the line or hit the ball in the gap. It really was just, I supplied the technique and he supplied the power. And magic happened. And it just so happened that Jack Buck was on the call. Smith corks one down the line. Could go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. The Cardinals have won the game by the score 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. And I've heard that so much. It's as if I've hit 500 home runs, man. But I was right place, right time. There's certain things that are just meant to be, manifest destiny, I guess you'd call it. When I got up that morning, I had no idea that the day would end the way it ended. It wasn't my goal. My goal was to do whatever I had to do to help my team win that day. And it just so happened that particular day, the opportunity presented itself and I was ready for it.
Yes.
And then, fast forward, we go to Dodger Stadium for Game 6. Lo and behold, Neat and Fuhr's on the mound again. I come within inches of hitting another home run on Dodger Stadium off the same guy, So it was magical. It was at that point that people started looking at me as much more than just a defensive player, and I think I had accomplished my goal.
Definitely. Wow, such a great story. And, just me growing up in St. Louis and, that's how I saw you. It was all-around player. Just like I was excited when you were at bat. I was excited when you were on defense. And that's what you were instilling.
And we created excitement when we were on the bases.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for people that grew up in the 80s and watched what we did, it was such a magical time. And we were doing it, so we didn't really realize the impact that we were having. I guess we did understand the impact, but we were just doing our job and creating that excitement for people that came out to watch us play. And as we sit down and talk about it now, we look at baseball today and baseball the way it was, and just two different worlds.
Yeah. If anybody has a lack of knowledge, I'm pretty sure most people listening to the episode or watching us on YouTube or wherever you're watching this know about the Wizard of Oz. But for those folks who might not know, when you retired, that final season, they were having celebrations for you at opponent stadiums all across the country. Is the most beautiful thing, and is that an acknowledgement of greatness.
Shawn, I tell you, not many guys get to take what they call a tour. Not many players get to do that, and to have been one of those players that they got a chance to tour. And there are some guys that play 20, 25 years. They don't get the tour. I was able to play 19 years, and I was able to get the tour and go around and have people show their appreciation. I was one of the only guys. My last All-Star game in 1996, they talk about the fans and stuff in Philadelphia. They'd boo Santa Claus. They'd boo their mother. But those people were very, very gracious to me, and I always got ovations in most of the places that I played, because what I tried to do was have fun with the fans. And the way that you develop a relationship with fans is you do your job. If you do your job every day, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, they appreciate people doing what it is they do. That's why people don't like the Yankees, because they do their job. Because they disrespect, man. And that's really what it boils down to. And I've always wanted to be respected for what I bring every day. I wasn't the greatest. I wasn't the fastest, but I worked hard, and I think I gave people their money's worth, whether they were for the Cardinals or for the Atlanta Braves or whoever. I always have people now, and I guess it's the compliment. It's a compliment now that when they come up to me and they say, "You know what? I enjoyed the way you played the game."
Yeah,
and that's the ultimate. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing I want to ask you about, during your career, you also won the Roberto Clemente Award for the player who best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and giving back. Can you talk about, for yourself personally, what motivated you to get involved with the community? You share some things that you're doing even now with me before the show.
Yeah, well, here again, I think all of us, when we think about community and stuff, man, I want to be able to go out in the evening and walk with the family. Be able to walk without having to worry about whether or not, it's going to be a shooting or all of this stuff that we have to deal with now, I want to be proud of the community in which I live. And if I'm going to be proud of the community in which I live, then I got to get my hands dirty in trying to help make it the best place that it can be. Coming here in 1982 changed my life, my family's life, because it gave me the opportunity to raise my family here. People they welcomed us with open arms. It's just been a great community to be a part of. And so if it's going to continue to be that, then I've got to invest in it. And so I've always believed that it's not just about saying, it's about doing. You got to do something that's going to make it better. And so I'm the president of the Gateway chapter of the PGA here. When I was growing up in Southern California, I was never exposed to the game of golf or the business of golf. So it's taking my celebrity and moving it into the private sector and bringing about awareness on certain causes and things. I think that's very important. That's how you stay relevant. You lend your name to certain causes. I can't do everything, but for the things that I can, I can lend my name to certain causes. And I'm the president of the Gateway chapter of the PGA here, whereby we're in the process of building a 9-hole multi-recreational golf facility in the inner city, by which we can introduce kids to the game of golf, the business of golf. We're even talking about culinary, all of this being under one roof and stuff, and give kids something other than worrying about, whether or not I can go down to the playground and play because of all the craziness that's going on. So that's my spiel, man. And, I know that I've got to, if I wanted to be better, I got to do something.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. That's powerful. I grew up in some pretty negative conditions, here in the city, and just being able to have an outlet, to have inspiration, that proximity matters a lot, you know, and of course, there's recreation centers, various places, and they've always been kind of like a positive input. And so having the audacity to do that, to get your hands dirty, like you said, and to give back that way, it really means a lot.
Yeah, giving back is the greatest asset in the world. You can have all the trophies and all that stuff on the mantle, but the ability to give back is the greatest asset you can have.
Yeah. Ozzie, I've got one more question for you, and this has just been phenomenal. Just enjoy your presence. The stories are incredible in and of themselves, but also the thought process behind a lot of this, and for you to share that with everybody and them getting to hear the psychology of somebody who's achieved so much is really powerful. So thank you for that. Final question is, what is the model that you're here to set for other people with the way you live your life personally?
Well, Shawn, I think we've kind of touched on it. In life, it's all about trying to do the right thing. I think if you're trying to do the right thing, things usually turn out pretty well. I want people to look at me and say, hey, you know what? That was a good dude. That dude was good, man. That dude had a good heart. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not a perfect person, but I've always tried to do the right things. I've always tried to make people feel a part. I don't know I've never intentionally hurt anybody. And I'm sure that they will probably find somebody who said, well, I stood there for an hour and I didn't get an autograph. Well, there's only so many hours in a day, and I try and sign as many autographs and stuff as I can. What's happened over the last few years is these pictures, taking a lot of pictures, so a lot of times when I can't sign an autograph, I say, if you take your camera out, we can take a picture, but I just want people to know that, or say that was a good guy who had a good heart, who was very giving, and I like him.
Yeah, perfect. Ozzie Smith, everybody, thank you so much. Listen, I'm telling you right now, it's so important to be around people who uplift you And it's so important to be around individuals who give you a perspective that's greater than where you are right now. And for me, growing up as a kid here in St. Louis, I had very few heroes. All right. One of them was Michael Jackson. All right. Did you know it? Did you know it? That was Ozzie. That wasn't me. All right. So that was one. And I remember going to school with that jacket. You know, I had the Thriller jacket. I got drove, but I represented. And the other person here in our city and having that example was Ozzie Smith for sure. And so it's a great pleasure to have him on the show today. And so many great takeaways. One of them, when he talked about not always going for the big swing, but, you know, to choke up, having that small, consistent swing at life, that's really what creates greatness. It's not the big swings. Every now and then you do take your big swing, but that's not what's going to create greatness. That's going to create momentary examples or experiences, but it won't result in greatness and you really up-leveling your life to the place that you deserve to be. Small, consistent swings. Just keep batting away. Also, have the audacity and the approach to making your life better than it was yesterday. All right. So he talked about making this year better than last year. All right. You can even approach it from that. And I think that's even more valuable for a lot of people because in the short term of a year, we're going to make mistakes. Things are going to go bad. Stuff's going to happen. So just looking at it like, am I better this year than last year? Right. And continuing to make that your modus operandi as you continue to move forward. And for me personally, I do it day by day. Each day, I just want to get 1% better, whether it's with my health, whether it's in my relationship, whether it's in my knowledge base, just striving to wake up, I'm going to get a little bit better today. And when I lay my head down at night, I feel successful. Again, so many other things, but I think that when he talked about this, and he said this several times, being ready, right? The window of opportunity is going to open at some point, and just being ready for that opportunity. You got to stay ready. All right. That's what this training is about. That's what absorbing information like this in this podcast is about. That's what reading the books. That's what you working on your craft. That's what you working on your relationships, whatever it might be. You're staying ready for when the window opens, because it will open and you want to be ready for that. So I hope that this encourages you to continue to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I appreciate you so much for tuning into the show today. Make sure to share this out with your friends and family on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And we'll link up anything with Ozzie. Ozzie, are you on any social media?
Well, a little bit. Not much. I'm not a real big social media guy, but Twitter, you can go to OzzieSmith.com.
Okay.
And Twitter, I don't tweet. Tweet a lot.
He's like the language.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to link him up, and you can tag him in this episode. Let him know what you thought about the show. So we'll put all the links to connect with Ozzie online for the little bit that he is online, because he's not like my son with the tablet ordering stuff, ordering toys from Amazon, all right? So again, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I appreciate you immensely. We've got some incredible show topics and more incredible guests coming up, but none greater than today with the Wizard of Oz. All right, take care. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk with you soon.